treatment, and then database what happens, and that's the research. You don't have to do it. You don't have to do it so it costs hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars. We don't have the money. Adult stem cells are not patentable because they're too natural. Embryonic stem cells, when you take an embryonic stem cell out of the embryo, when you take an embryonic stem cell out of the biological control of the embryo, which is profound and mysterious to us, it becomes a cancer immediately. And why not? It's a building cell. It's not a healing cell like adult stem cells. It's a building cell. It has the job of building a baby in 7 months. A 7-pound baby, 9 months. A 7-pound baby in 9 months. There is no cancer known to modern medicine that can produce a 7-pound tumor from one cell in 9 months. They just don't grow fast enough to do that. The embryonic stem cells become ferocious cancers when they're taken out of the control of a growing embryo. But they're patentable because you must do biotechnology on them to get them to stop making the cancer. And every step of the way, that's a patent. Patent, 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 patent. So you might say, well, what makes them think that they're going to be able to make healing cells out of embryonic stem cells? Well, they have to be successful. They can't fail. You know why? Anybody? Huh? No. Well, I mean, true enough, they will have the money to do it because it's patentable and can be profitable, and whereas adult stem cells are not. But the embryonic stem cells make all 220 different cell types in the human body, of which many are healing cells. So eventually, it's a normal pathway from embryonic stem cells to all cells, including healing. So they'll figure it out. All they do is they keep soaking the cell cultures in different cytokines. They get it to go from this to this to this to this. It goes right down the pit. They'll make them eventually, but they'll be so expensive, no one's going to be able to afford it. All right. This was actually predicted. I'm just going to read this, okay? This is Dwight D. Eisenhower in his farewell address from the White House. It's called his vast military-industrial complex speech. Very famous. But boy, oh boy, did they ignore what he said about science. Did they? I've never heard anybody. And I remember Eisenhower. I'm old enough to remember. I used to see him on TV. I was pretty small, but I remember Eisenhower. There has been a technological revolution during recent decades. This was 50 years ago. In this revolution, research has become central. It also becomes more formalized, complex, and costly, the emphasis on costly. The free university, historically the fountainhead of free ideas and scientific discovery, has experienced a revolution in the conduct of research. He's talking about scientific research. Partly because of the huge costs involved, a contract becomes virtually a substitute for intellectual curiosity. The prospect of domination of the nation's scholars by project allocations and the power of money is ever present and is gravely to be regarded. Now, this guy was no hysterical alarmist. He was a 4-star general, head of the NATO forces during World War II, and a 2-time Republican president. This is a pretty slide, but I forget what I wanted to say about it. I think this was the point about the fact that embryonic stem cells make adult stem cells, so they have to be successful sooner or later. But again, let me just make the comparison. Adult stem cells are like a candle that can make you better. Embryonic stem cells are like the sun, 3,000 billion degrees. They are ferocious. They are not to be put in an adult body. Now, you know the politics of this. The anti-abortion people went nuts. And it turns out they were right. And I'm not a religious person. I don't say this on religious grounds. But when you're right, you're right, whether you're in my camp or not. And so what they did is they make these iPSCs, these induced pluripotent stem cells. And what they are synthetic embryonic stem cells. So now, once the patents for this ability to make these iPSCs are paid for, now we still have to pay for how to make these embryonic-like stem cells not be cancerous. And then we'll be right where we have been for the last 10 years. We'll have adult stem cells, which we now throw away. The other one is they can take the nucleus out of a skin. You've all heard of this. They take the nucleus out of a skin cell, put it in an egg cell with that nucleus taken out, and it becomes an embryonic stem cell. The problem is, it's got to be done under such enormous microscopic conditions that it takes a PhD to do. How are we going to treat each and every person? Everybody gets their PhD cell biologist to make one for them every time they need to be treated, and then it's an embryonic stem cell. So you still got to do all the research and whatnot. It's a mess. Of course, we've been able to use it in animals and shown tremendous results. This is almost my last slide. So life is not a battle between good and evil. It's the battle between truth and lies. Miguel Ruiz, neurosurgeon and Four Agreements. I don't know if you've read that, but it's quite a good book. So stem cell medicine is important to humanity. It's a public issue, and that you're never going to unring that bell. It's public. Doctors are not going to decide for you to use this. They can't. If the public doesn't demand that the FDA change this rule, it will not change. I can guarantee you that. And misinformation, as you can see, is ubiquitous. We need public education, which is why I wrote my book. Please, get a copy, send it to your congressman, and give it to your doctor. Thank you very much.